podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Good job with the shot, and the Slough Jets have taken the lead on the power play. With 23 Russell with the shot for a goal. No need for the save from Lordo, and Campbell finds himself in, and it is 3-1 to the Chelsea Chieftains.
Welcome back to ZPG 3.0. We're getting up and running. We're absolutely buzzing to be back for our third season covering the NHL 1 South Britton Division. This is Zero Pucks Given. We are in partnership with the Hockey Art Co. Hockey clothing for hockey people, worn by the best and hated by the rest. Listeners to Zero Pucks Given get a 10% discount on everything from hockeyartclothing.co.uk. Just use the code ZP10. We are also in partnership with Manscaped, redefining the gentleman with top-of-the-range grooming products for men. Products including the Dome Shaver Pro for those of you that may be follically challenged like myself. It's the perfect waterproof shaver to keep your block and tackle shipshape and tidy. You can get 20% off everything from manscaped.com when you use the code 0pucks20, all caps, all one word, and of course, 0 Pucks Given. And the ZPG network is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network, now boasting over 500 sporting podcasts from all around Europe. Well, welcome along. I'm Ben. This is episode 107, the first episode of season 3.0, and we are going to preview the Britton Division. We'll run through each team, their ones to watch, their ticket prices, have a little bit of a go at predicting their season, and give you the full rosters, or at least what's been announced anyway. If we do get any little nuggets of information, I'm pretty good to my word at keeping them quiet until they're public. Or maybe I have a little psychic ability after announcing Nate Gregory's move to Slough weeks before it was confirmed. Total accident, that. Didn't actually know anything about it at all. So then, we've got a lot to get through, so please stick with me. We will get to every team. I'm going to go alphabetically. So to start with, let's head over the Severn Bridge into Cardiff, and we'll start with the Fire.
Cardiff Fire.
Cardiff Fire, firstly, a huge welcome back to the Britton Division for the Fire, who've made a lot of retentions from their NIHL 2 season last year, when, to be fair, they didn't run away with the league by any means and didn't make the Final Four at Ali Pali. So this is going to be a very big step up for the Cardiff boys. Be very interested to see Luther Daly, the Hong Kong under-18 international, joins Cardiff this season, hailing from a part of the world where hockey is growing just as fast, if not faster than here in the UK. With a roster 24 strong and an average age of around 22, this is a team of young men and, of course, Gemma Davis in the pipes, who, if they aren't already aware how hard they have to work, they will be aware very quickly. They can draw on the experience of the likes of Danny Williams and Aaron Moody and Bailey Hyde-Pitcher, all with extensive NIHL 1 experience. Ellis Shepherd will, I'm sure, be absolutely buzzing to get going. He's also agreed to supply coaches' thoughts for Zero Pucks Given, which is massively appreciated. I'm sure the club as a whole will be boosted by the slight change in playoff format, as the teams can't guarantee ice time for a postseason group stage. It is now 8 from 10 that will qualify for the playoffs. And for me, that's where I have Cardiff finishing, sort of just inside that bracket and qualifying for the playoffs, which I think the Fire would see as a successful season, to be perfectly honest. I know a lot of people are looking forward to the road trip to Cardiff. The fixtures have been quite cleverly arranged to try and limit the Sunday night travelling for a lot of teams where possible. Cardiff had not yet released their match night ticket prices, so we wait and see what those are. There has also been the reintroduction of the Welsh Cup, where the Fire will face off against the D-side Dragons from the NIHL 1 North. That takes place away for Cardiff on Saturday the 7th of September and at home on Saturday the 28th, which would be a great honour to take for the winner of that, and will certainly add a different dimension of competition for both sides, having to play a team from the other division that they don't really know a great deal about. So that will be really, really interesting to see the outcome of that. So let's run through that Cardiff Fire roster from top to bottom with what we know so far. 22 strong, an average age of 23.27. In the pipes, Ben Scanlon and Gemma Davis. In the D, we've got Ian Davis, Jakob Barnwell, Lewis James, Jasper Quinn, Ellis Shepherd, Tom Stevens and Dylan Webb. Their forward lines consist of Luther Daly, Bailey Hindpitcher, Chris Fox, Christians Kazyanovs, apologies if I've got that wrong, Carter Lloyd, Lewis Lunn, Aaron Moody, Josh Paul, Robert Price, Cedric Racine, again, apologies if I've got that wrong, Aaron Reagan, Lewis Stevens, Tom Stevens, the brothers there returning, William Thilbert and Danny Williams. As I said earlier, Chep has agreed to supply coaches' thoughts for ZPG this season, and so far Danny Williams and Chep himself are confirmed as guests for the podcast. So Fire fans can certainly look forward to that one. Right then, let's move back east into Essex, the home of the invention of the radio and the reigning playoff champions, the Chelmsford Chieftains.
Chelmsford Chieftains.
Firstly, I'll extend another congratulations to Cliff and the Chelmsford Chieftains on an exhilarating playoffs victory last season. Commentating on the finals was one of the best experiences of my life. I felt incredibly privileged to be doing it when the team that I support takes the win. A lot of that squad has returned to the Riverside. The re-signing of Lewis Clifford as head coach was confirmed before the playoffs started, which was the first coup, really, keeping a coach that had got the team playing in such good form. Retention of Jordan Lauday was also key for the Chieftains. That's on a 2-year deal, as well as the core of the D, including King, Russell, Fay and Hitchings. Retentions of the Bartletts was also key. Grant Bartlett took the playoffs by the scruff of its neck and made it his own last season. Lack, Barnes Garner, Baldock, Rayner and Fillery all retained as well. Notable misses from the roster so far are the impressive imports, Sasha Maltsev and Damon Porter. Not entirely sure what's going on with either of those yet, although I have heard from Damon Porter that he will be signing elsewhere if he is going to be playing his hockey. It won't be at Chelmsford. They have added further National League talent and experience in Callum Wells and Mikey Power, so we look forward to seeing those guys back in action in the black and gold. The Chieftains will have a pre-season game with a difference as they take on a Legends Chieftain side in aid of Cancer Research UK on Sunday, September 1st. I'm reliably informed that the Legends are bang up for it and intend to give them a game, although my source claims they are just hoping they can bend down to tie their skates. Thanks, Danny Wright, for that bit of info. This season's match night tickets have risen again. An adult ticket will now set you back $16.50, which is the highest price in the Britton Division. Not entirely sure why. It could just be obviously a few more National League players. The rink costs may well have gone up as well. It's one of them things, I suppose, isn't it? With everything going up, the costs of running the clubs are probably going up as well. Last season's playoff champions will be looking to add to the accolades this season, but with a shorter roster than most, a higher average age as well, and no imports currently, it may take something really special to stop the Redhawks going 5 on the trot. Keeping the likes of Baldock, Barnes Garner and Rayner will certainly keep the entertainment levels high, as the Chieftains played an attractive style of hockey, going through those types of players. But in Porter, Maltsev and Lee Jameson, that's a loss of more than 120 points from the top two lines. For me, though, one to watch this season is going to be Mikey Power. I expect him to settle quite quickly and start notching points early doors. Although similar to last season, if this is to be the completed team, with the shortness of the roster, coupled with some long suspensions that the Chieftains had last year, it cost them a real run at Streatham. So this year, I expect them to be there or thereabouts, but make no mistake, winning the playoffs in the style that they did does put a target on your back. For the podcast for next season, then, so far confirmed from the Chelmsford Chieftains are Halden Barnes Garner, really looking forward to that one, and young prospect defenceman Eden Rolfe, and hopefully some more to come as well. Let's have a look through that roster then as it stands today. Of course, there might be a few more announcements that come out, but as it stands from recording today, this is what we have. 18-strong roster with an average age of 25.94. That's the highest in the Britton Division. We have Jordan Lauday, Tom Adams in the pipes. The D-core consisting of Jay King, Dan Hitchens, Ben Russell, Dan Fay, Richie Pickering, Tom Ravenscroft coming in from Oxford, as well as Eden Rolfe, who's on a two-way with the Warriors, and I believe still eligible for the junior system at Chelmsford as well. Callum Wells also sort of playing that sort of two-way hockey for the Chieftains. The forward line consisting of Kieran Rayner, TJ Fillery, Ollie Baldock, Alan Lack returns, also the coach of the Romford Academy as well, Halden Barnes-Garner, Mikey Power, Grant Bartlett and Cameron Bartlett. Cliff has also agreed to supply coaches' thoughts for ZPG. I'm incredibly grateful for the time that the coaches give to the podcast. So for now then, let's head over the Dartford Crossing and down the M2 as we have a look at Carl Lennon's new look Invicta Dynamos.
Invicta Dynamos.
Invicta have been forced into some changes for this season, with Owen Dale heading off to uni up north and the legendary Stano Laschek returning to his homeland. Lennon has employed the youth setup at Invicta to fill the roster out, as well as adding some extremely competent experience. The return of Lewis Colvin and the addition of Aaron Connolly sees the pair join Dan Scott on the leadership team, with Connolly taking the C. The solid addition of former Romford Chelmsford of Stretton D-man Callum Burnett signifies the winning mentality that Lennon is going to be imposing on his side. The retentions of some Dynamo stalwarts also keep their roster strong, with Springer, Hughes, Spohr, Thune and Bronyman all returning after impressive seasons last year. Carl will be looking to improve on their fifth place finish, no doubt. The changes to the league structure do give the teams more games, obviously, and Lennon will, I'm sure, want to avoid getting into a run of bad performances in a league where all the other 9 teams are more than capable of bloodying a nose. The signing of Krakauskas, from Romford and Pywell from the Sheffield Scimitars strengthen the Mo's in depth even further. And as I said earlier, Duval, Alabaster, Worthy and Evan Chard all being two-wayed with the Mustangs and Dynamos Junior setup. Ryder and Winderbank make for an experienced duo in the pipes and give the Mo's a solid foundation from which to build. They have a competitive start as well in pre-season with a Kent-Essex Cup double-header against the Romford Raiders, which will stand them in good stead as they face Solent, Streatham and Chelmsford in their first few games. I can see the Mo's being better than they were last season, but with all the other teams improving as well, breaking into that top 3, I think will be a successful season for the Dynamos. The one to watch for me is going to be Aaron Connolly. The prodigal son returns, and this is his 9th consecutive season as a captain. So that certainly does sort of tell you a lot about him as a man and as a player. He's certainly a player that we'd love to have on the pod to discuss such an illustrious career in UK ice hockey. An adult game night ticket for the Mo's will set you back £13. And of course, don't forget the 12% Planet Ice booking fee on that too. So $14.56 if booking online, which is advisable to do as the Mo's do pull big crowds in Gillingham. Confirmed for this year's ZPG is Dynamo's forward Ollie Bronyman and Invicta Dynamo's owner Kevin Parrish, which will be a really interesting insight again. Hopefully more to add from the South East Horsemen. Let's run through that roster then. Invicta Dynamos are 23 strong with an average age of exactly 25. So in the pipes, Owen Ryder, Brad Winderbank and Nikolai Duval on a two-way. The defence has Daniel Alabaster, Callum Burnett, Harrison Lillis, Gregor McCallan, Regan O'Neill, Sam Oliver, Dan Scott, Joe Stevenson, Michael Stokes and Dylan Worthy also on a two-way with the Mustangs. Into the forward department, Ollie Bronyman, Evan Chard, two-way with the Mustangs, Lewis Colvin, Aaron Connolly, Vilius Krakauskas, James Laming, Cameron Pywell, joining from North 1, of course, Tom Saw, Ruskin Springer Hughes and Mads Thune. Carl Lennon will once again be providing his coach's thoughts for the podcast. He's so good at it. It's a really solid addition to the Roundup episode. I really always love hearing Carl's messages when he sends it through. And always says lovely things about the podcast as well. So grateful of Carl's time. But I hear a rumble. Let's head up to the Thunder.
Milton Keynes Thunder.
Milton Keynes Thunder start the new season under a new coach with plenty of new faces and hopefully for them a new identity. Will Fry has kept hold of some of the experienced guys that helped the Thunder to still being in touch and able to get 7th in the last few weeks of the season. With the returns of Julian Smith, John Welthall and Mark Austin and Hayden Hagger, but they have given some guys from the Wilkinson division a chance to shine in the league above, as Theo Sire joins from the Phoenix and a few Buffalo players make the step as there will unfortunately be no hockey in Basingstoke this season. notably Xander Robinson after impressing with the winning goal in last year's Wilkinson final. It's going to be a tough job at the Thunder. The addition of Cardiff and Swindon has without doubt made the league even more competitive, and I'm sure Fry's modus operandi will be don't finish 10th. But with the looks of their roster, I feel that's not a massive ask for them. I can see them being really hard to break down, stealing goals on power plays or breakaways, and I can see them handing out some defeats. For me, their important games are going to be the ones against the clubs that are likely to surround them in the division. Positive results against the likes of Oxford, Cardiff, Romford and Swindon could see them make a playoff push. I'm really interested as well to see how Maddie Wright fares playing with the Thunder. The ladies have been quite well represented this year with Maddie, Gemma Davis at Cardiff. I imagine Kayla Paul will probably be registered at Oxford and, of course, Ellie Wakeling at Romford. The girls are doing their bit to progress their own game, and massive, massive props to them for that. I know it comes as quite a shock to some newbies, perhaps, when they see a female playing in the men's game. But believe me, these girls give as good as they get, and they love every minute of it. For me, I think it's great to see. So for me, one to watch that could be a great signing for the Thunder is Northern Irish D-man Travis Laverty. Travis is also a confirmed guest for ZPG 3.0 as well, which is fantastic. Will Fry has also committed to providing coaches' thoughts to the podcast as well, which, as I said before, it really gives the Roundup episode a lot of credence. I'll also be commentating on the live stream from the Thunderdome when the MK Thunder face the Chelmsford Chieftains on November the 3rd, so I'll look forward to doing that. If you head to the Thunderdome, you're looking at £10 for an adult ticket and under 16s for £1, which is incredible value. These are on the door only, so don't go buying tickets from links or online areas as they will not be genuine. Let's have a look through the roster that Will Fry has put together then in his first season at the Thunderdome. It's currently 27 strong with an average age of 22.77. In the nets, Craig Bradfield and Kieran Hickman. In the D, we have James Bryan, Callum Burr, Charles Coney, Travis Lavery, James Cox, Theo Sire as a centre, Julian Smith, Freddie Stevens, Leyland Stevens and Dominic Welfall. Going two-way then will be Maddie Wright, and then in the forwards we'll have last season's top scorer Mark Austin, as well as Alistair Barrow, Charlie Conroy, Elliot Davis, Hayden Hagger, Ed Harley, Josh Hickman, Harry McGarvey, Cole McCluskey also returns, Nathan Mead, Sam Purcell, Xander Robinson, as we said earlier, very impressive for the Buffalo last year, Jared Vigor and Sean Reynolds. So it really, really has been a good roster put together there by Will Fry. And we look forward to seeing those guys in action. Let's head slightly further west across the A421 and to the Oxpens, where we check out the City Stars.
Oxford City Stars.
Oxford City Stars. Well, where to start? An apparent exodus after last season, which promised so much. Some excellent work was done by the club as a whole. The signings of Czech, Hullaby and Flanagan brought in unprecedented social media coverage and high gates, but it never really seemed to gel. And after the arrival of Swindon Wildcats too, a lot of players have headed over there. Mark Saunders took the head coach role and does have one of the most extensive contact books in UK ice hockey. And as far as we know, may even have 20-plus roster already signed up, and they're drip-feeding them to their adoring public. However, as we near the opening weekend of the season, it seems to the untrained eye that the Stars may well struggle again this season. There is a large rebuild required, of that there is no doubt, and in fairness, Mark Saunders is a good shout to get that rebuild up and running. But there have been some retentions from last season, as Ross Miller, Chris Cook and Jake Williams all return. The addition of Jack Peacock from Solent and Casey Wilson from Streatham Blackhawks are good signings too. That's Wilson's third consecutive season with Saunders after the season with the Chieftains and then with the Streatham Blackhawks. For the start of the year, though, you may have to say their MO is going to be don't finish 10th, similar to MK. They won't be judged on their performances against the Streathams and the Sloughs and the Chelmsfords, but against the Thunder, the Fire, the Wildcats, the Bucks. Those Wildcats games, a bit of a local derby and plenty of familiar faces too, so they will certainly be interesting fixtures. Mark has also agreed to provide his coach's thoughts for ZPG, as he did back in the early days of the podcast when he was Chieftains coach, so I can't thank Mark enough for that. Let's run through what we know so far then. There's only 8 that have been announced thus far. Ross Miller in nets, Chris Cook, Charlie Roach, Casey Wilson making up the D, with William Birch, Aidan McGurk, and Jack Peacock and Jake Williams in the forwards. As I said earlier, I expect Caleb Paul to probably be named as a netminder for Oxford. We know that Dax Hedges, the captain of last year, has taken a step down to the Rising Stars. Could well see a few of those step up to the Stars with some under-18s and juniors stepping into the Rising Stars. But again, we wait and see. Time will tell. Quite daunting, actually, being now, lift the iron curtain. It's the 20th of August. We're less than sort of 3 weeks away from the start now. A lot less than 3 weeks away from the start. In fact, the Stars will start at home to the Chieftains in pretty much 17 days, 18 days. So we'll have to wait and see what they can get out in that time. We head back to the east of London now, and we lock on to the Romford Buccaneers.
America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. By honoring your sacred vocation of nursing, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. At Grand Canyon University, our online RN to BSN, MSN, or DNP degree programs allow you to balance online coursework with local in-person clinical, practicum, or immersion hours. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
Buccaneers.
Romford definitely showing their East London roots this year with a West Ham-themed alternate jersey, and also keeping the faith with their team that certainly bloodied some noses last season. We said constantly they are the team that if you are not 100% on it, they will beat you. Of course, last season they were powered by the sensational Brindley Caps and Joe Tamarlin. Brindley has, of course, moved onto the Coventry Blaze after signing a 3-year professional contract, and Joe moves up permanently with the Raiders, but is currently enjoying a bit of time with the Cardiff Devils, where he notched his first professional point in his debut game for the Devils at the weekend just gone. There is a new face in the pipes as Max Van Mullen steps up for his first senior season, backing up the evergreen Sonny Phillips. The Bucks are also boosted by the return of Harvey Briggs as he plays on a 2-way with the Raiders, and they're also using the 2- and 3-way systems to their advantage as they welcome back Leo Markey on a 2-way with the Phantoms, the impressive Louis Kinniston on a 3-way with Phantoms, Phantoms 2, and of course the Bucks. Nicholas Martin also on that same deal, and Dan Martin on a 2-way with the Phantoms 2. Jason Buckman has been astute in putting his team together. Of course, knowing that there will be some jeopardy for playoff places, the Bucks have enjoyed success in recent years, making the playoff finals weekend. Just coming up short last year, but it's a target that I'm sure they feel is achievable, and I would be inclined to agree. The Sapphire is one of my favourite rinks to visit. I'm very much looking forward to heading up there in November. The home crowds did increase last year. The buzz around Caps and Tamarlin certainly helped that. And of course, the return of TJ Anderson towards the end of the season. No ticket prices announced as of yet, but by the Bucks generally go around £10 a mark. Great value for money, and we hope to see a few more faces announced as we head into the first face-off in early September. From what's been announced and from what I've seen last season, I'm really looking forward to seeing Louis Kinniston get let loose on the Britton Division. So let's have a look at the roster so far then. For the Romford Buccaneers, it's 20 strong, the youngest as well, average age of 20.57. In nets, Max Van Mullen and Sonny Phillips. In the D, Donald Campbell, Billy Coe, Migas Canis, Philip Maguire, Brad Taylor and Ellie Wakeling. In the forward lines, we have Harvey Briggs, Elliot Dervish, Kobe Grinnell Park, Luca Pascali, Tyrone Wells, Tom Wilson, Shay Walmore and Harry Wright. Artem Kazaks also added quite recently, with, of course, now Leo Markey, Louis Kinniston, Nick Martin and Dan Martin completing the 20. It will be good to see how these youngsters progress in the squad under a great coach. As I said, currently the youngest roster in the Britton Division. And Bucky will again be providing his coach's thoughts for ZPG, which is brilliant. Normally his Monday walk with the dog sees him send me a little audio clip, which of course I'm thoroughly grateful for. 4 teams to go, then let's head from one side of London to the other and land at the hangar.
Slough Jets.
Lucas Smithill's young Slough Jet side had one hell of a season last year. The Holy Trinity firing on all cylinders, and in all honesty, just seemed to be a little lack of discipline that cost them any silverware in the end. On the end of a bit of a pasting in the playoff semi-final last season and taking Streatham literally all the way to the final seconds of the cup final, but what the Slough side lacked last year has 100% been added this year. Smithhill has brought in valuable experience in the shape of former Solent Devils captain D-man Alex Cole and former Streatham forward Brandon Miles. Key retentions of those young hot prospects on 2-year deals as well signifies that the Jets are attempting a dynasty to take the mantle from Streatham and become the team to beat in the Britain. The Jets were pretty brutal on the power play last year as well, with Goodchild and Minter notching 40 points between them on the power play alone, so that's a vital weapon in their armoury. There are some two-way deals for some of the Jets' top stars. Luke Smithhill, Jack Goodchild, plus Seb and Christian Moore are all on two-way deals with the Romford Raiders in the National League, which if they do well at that level, it could leave a bit of a gaping hole in the Jets' attacking lines. But we wish the lads all the best in pushing themselves to the highest possible level, although we love watching them in the Britton Division. Every Slough Jets player that came on the podcast this season spoke of how Smits as a coach has had a real impression on their career, their style of play and their work ethic within the sport. Some even take the opportunity to train more regularly at the brilliantly innovative Ozone facility in Bracknell. For me, this season, their one to watch is going to be the danger man, Jack Goodchild. He's a ruthless improving game on game, year on year. Really interested to see how Jack can do this year. An adult ticket for the hangout will set you back £14. Good crowds can be expected this season as well on the back of last season's notoriety for entertaining. I foresee another top three finish for the Slough Jets, but as to which position in the top three, who knows? Time will tell. The Jets started releasing signings quite early, so I would imagine the roster is virtually finished. But let's have a look what we've got, shall we? So the Slough Jets, 25 strong with an average age of 22.32. In the nets, we have Nate Gregory and Matt Smithhill. In the D, Jude Affleck, Liam Clark, Alex Cole, Luke Dreelan, Harvey Harmon, Harry Hatfield, Timo Lindgren, Jacob Minter and Himran Ross. In the forward lines, Kyle Bradburn, Ed Cave Humphrey, Ben Ely Newman, a good signing in from Streatham, Lewis English, Jack Goodchild, Ollie Hemmings-Mayer, Dylan Holliker, Brandon Miles, Christian Moore, Seb Moore, Connor Redmond, Alex Rosem, and Luke Smithhill. Jacob Soper, of course, in that lineup as well. Confirmed for next season on ZPG 3.0 is Alex Cole. After his switch from the Devils, he will be one of the first guests of the season, so looking forward to that. We caught up, of course, at the playoff finals at Ali Pali. You can find that on YouTube. And we'll see if his dressing room antics after a win make the trip with him to Slough. Keep your eyes on the socials for that. Let's reverse the trip that Alex Cole made then, and let's head down to the south coast as we head to hell to meet the Devils. Okay, Hampshire's not that bad. With the inevitable return of Mr. Solent, Alex Murray, they got to work quickly on assembling a competitive roster as they look to make what seems to be the giant leap from bridesmaid to bride, having been beaten in the last two playoff finals after conceding within the first 60 seconds in both. The losses of Steve Osman, Liam Coleman, Alex Cole and Drew Campbell is a loss of 132 points from the roster, and the Devils have worked very swiftly to try and replace that. Firstly, Callum Perella-Fox was promoted to the role of captain. Congratulations to Callum. Before the D was strengthened with the signings of Tom Banner. Harry Harkup and Travis Penny could prove to be very prudent signings, as I believe both will flourish, particularly in Solent's home games, and once settled into Murray's systems, we could see good things from them both. The retention of Aaron Taylor could well be key, as a consistency between the net and the D is going to be crucial from the Devils to get themselves up into trophy contention. They have been drawn into a very competitive cup group where their first home and away fixtures against Fire, Dynamos, Thunder and Redhawks will determine their placement in the cup group. I would imagine the games between Solent and Invicta will be vital in determining who makes the cup semi-finals. On the signings front again, Cam Buckle joins the front line after impressing in the playoff-winning Basingstoke Buffalo side. But for the one to watch this year for me, it's Kane Russell. He was sensational in the Showpiece weekend last season, and I'm sure he will take that form into the 24-25 campaign. An adult ticket for the Solent Devils will set you back £14. Remember, of course, if you're buying online, there will be a Planet Ice £12 booking fee, making it $15.68. It's unfortunate, but it's probably best to book in advance, as it's quite a small rink and it does fill up quickly. Let's run through that Devils roster then and see what they've got to see where they're going to end up. Solent Devils are 22 strong with an average age of 25.27. In the nets, Mark Duffy, Rory Martin-Edwards and Aaron Taylor. Their D consists of Tom Banner, Harry Cloutman, Jack Hops coming in from Streatham, Big Joe Llewellyn, Chris Necrosavicius, Callum Perella-Fox and Mason Wild. The forward line made up of Callum Buckle, Ollie Cackett, Harry Harkup, Connor Hutchinson, Dan Lackey, Alex Murray, Riley Panther, Travis Penny, Kane Russell, Joe Sylvester. Ryan Sutton, of course, also retained, as well as prospect Charlie Wedge. Player coach Alex Murray will hopefully be once again providing his coach's thoughts to ZPG. He's been a fantastic supporter of the pod since we started, and it's always great to hear his feedback from a Solent weekend. Regardless of how it's gone, he's always quite open, whether they've won or lost. Former Devil Drew Campbell is confirmed for episode 123 at Drew's request, so that is one for the Devils fans to look forward to. With the roster they've put together, I would expect them to push quite high. I would imagine that sort of 4th and 5th place where they finished last season is they'll be aiming higher, but for me that's where I can see them finish. But it all depends how it goes. As we say, they should never really lose a home game. So if them new players settle into those systems and they turn Planet Ice Gosport into a fortress, they could well find themselves higher. Let's head back into London then, up the A23 to the home of the quadruple champions.
Streatham Redhawks.
Streatham Redhawks, an unbelievable season last year, notching the league title, the Britain Cup, the South Cup and the National Div 1 title with a style that not many would have expected them to play. Pate's feeling at the start of the season that what's the point in scoring 30 goals if we just concede 30 goals as well. So they built from the back and the points were spread right across the team, with Ziggy Beasley coming out on top with 42 points. Just 6 defeats in total all year, 3 in the league early on to Oxford, Invicta and Chelmsford, before OT and shootout defeats to Slough and Chelmsford respectively, before the playoff semi-final loss to Solent. Shutting out Chelmsford at the High Road, taking a 6-0 victory, a real high point from the previous year. And they managed to finally get over the line at Coventry, defeating the Billingham Stars 4-3 to take the National 1 title. There seemed to be a bit of an exodus after the season concluded, with Miles, Burnett, the Ely Newman boys, Nate Gregory, Hops and Briggs all making way. But the cogs were already turning, and National League experience came in the other door, with Aidan Doughty, Harvey Steed, George Norcliffe, Brendan Bard, and the return of Danny Inglesby. Once again, the Redhawks look like they'll be the team to beat. Retentions of the likes of Beasley, Watt, Milton and the impressive Ethan and Jared Lane, as well as the likes of Skokan, Aiken and Brittle, has put Painter's boys still as the team to beat in the division. Surely that's the mark of great champions, a team that can rebuild and continue to win, which is what they've been doing slowly but surely since the return after COVID. But this is probably the largest rebuild in one summer that they have undertaken, which probably explains their very early return to training. I would imagine come first puck drop that Ben Painter's side are going to be fighting fit, well drilled and laser focused on retaining that title for the 5th time at the very least. The introduction of the National 1 playoff system also creates an opportunity for one team to win 2 trophies in one weekend when the finals take place in April. So there is again a potential 5 trophies up for grabs this season, with the Britton Division title, the Britain Cup, the National 1 Championship, the Britain Playoffs and the National 1 Playoff Championship. Is winning all 5 too much for one team? Maybe. It was too much for the Redhawks last season, but taking the remaining 4 is still pretty good going. Even those who aren't fans of the South London club can appreciate the immensity of last season's achievements. For me, I'm going to be keeping my eye on Luke Brittle this year. I think he was sensational last season, and I expect him to push on even further this year. You've got to look with rose-tinted glasses, I think, to say that Streatham won't win the league, but I'll say whoever finishes above them probably will. but I don't expect them to have everything their own way. An adult ticket at the High Road will set you back £15. Obviously some stiff competition in South London with 4 or 5 pro football teams within a few miles radius, but the crowds have been getting increasingly larger, certainly towards the business end of the season. But they're doing some great social media stuff as well now to get a few more butts in seats. Let's have a look at the roster then. Could be some more added. From what we know so far, Streatham Redhawks is a 21-strong roster with an average age of 26.39, so that does make them the highest age in the league. In the pipes, Danny Milton, Dylan Phillips and Nikolai Romars. In the D, Henry Aiken, Brendan Bard, Jordan Gregory, Thomas Skokan, Harvey Steed, Preston Toombs, Sam Waller and James Warman. The forward line contains a lot of retentions as well as some new ones. Ziggy Beasley, Luke Brittle, Roman Cathcart has been added from Slough, as has Adam Erskine, Aidan Doughty, Danny Inglesby, Ethan Lane, Jared Lane, George Northcliffe, Ben Painter and JJ Pitchley, of course joined by Captain Ryan Watts. Matty Friend was signed up from Invicta in the pipes, but I believe due to personal reasons, that signing has not taken place. We wait to see where Matt will end up, if anywhere, this season. And Paints will also be providing his coach's thoughts. Again, incredibly grateful for his time. And we did say when Ben was on for our Cup Final episode last year that we will do a full episode with Ben, so hopefully we'll get that in this season. I'll definitely be looking to get down to Streatham again this season. Dawn and everyone there was incredibly welcoming last time I went down. I've got quite close with quite a few of the people at Streatham. It's a brilliantly run club and some lovely people involved down there.
Swindon Wildcats 2.
The final team then, one of the new teams joining the Britton Division this year. After having their season cut off last year after a flood at the Link Centre, a number of the roster of the Swindon Wildcats 2 played their hockey elsewhere. Now they've returned and it's a division higher. Ken Forsey's team was released all in one go just days after their presence in the Britain was confirmed. The experience of Jan Costin and Shannon Taylor within the coaching staff certainly stands the Wildcats in good stead. There's a number of players with Britton Division experience which will also be vital for them, as their entrance into the league along with Cardiff not only numerically makes the league more competitive, but the level of some of the players that have joined the league with them will certainly dial it up. The addition of Brett Massey from Slough is a massive start for the Wildcats, and the addition of the likes of Steve Osman and Liam Coleman makes them dangerous from the outset. A few two-way deals with the National Division side will see more National League experience making its way into the league, and I really do expect the Swindon side to put the Wildcat amongst the pigeons. With the roster they've put together, I can't see anyone giving them a pasting. I can see that the top teams are going to have to play at 100% or they will get beat, particularly at the Link, by this Swindon side. I had a really good chat with the guys who'll be doing the social media stuff for Wildcats 2, and they really want to make an impression on the league. The social media side of all of this has become an enormous part of running a hockey club. The fans want the behind-the-scenes stuff, the video content, etc., and it all takes time and hard work. Believe me, I know doing the socials for the pod is like a part-time job, and that's before even writing it or recording it. But as far as their roster is concerned, we know the dangers that Osman, Coleman and Lauday present. I'm really excited to see Jan Kostel Jr. in this team. With his dad behind the bench, Jan Sr. played some games for Oxford City Stars at the end of last season as well, so he'll have prior knowledge of some of the teams they'll be facing, as well as former Oxford coach Shannon Taylor, who moved over as well from the Oxpens. But yeah, Jan Kostel Jr. is my one to watch. I think they're in with a good shout at playoffs, as it's now top 8 that qualify. Could well be a straight shootout with Romford or Cardiff to get on that final list of places. And as I said, there's not one team in this league that I expect to take pastings. I think every game will be competitive and the entertainment value is going to go through the roof. So let's have a look again at the Swindon Wildcats 2 roster. It's 24 strong with an average age of just 20.97. In nets, they have Ben Clark-Leach and Brett Massey. In the D, they have Josh Burnett, Cal Forsey, Will Harding, George Howell, over from MK, of course, Jack Liddamore, Ben Mason, Ben Nethersell, and Ollie Stone. The forward line consists of Tom Ashmore, Liam Coleman, Alfie Druitt, Luca Kirk-Brown, Jan Kostel Jr., Matt Lauday, Hayden Lee, Dylan Lipsey, Steve Osman, Sam Ray, Oscar Sagan, Ethan Taylor, and Charlie Turner. Jay Warren also on that list as well. Brett Massey is a confirmed guest for ZPG 3.0, so Wildcats fans can look forward to that one. The social media team have also committed to coaches' thoughts, whether it be the audio from what they film and record themselves or exclusive to ZPG from Ken directly. We're not entirely sure just yet, but all will materialise as we head down to the first face-offs. Hopefully the social teams from all the clubs can put some votes out online to see who the fans would like to hear from. Obviously, it's not everyone's cup of tea. There are a few players I've reached out to, and they've told me they're not really talkers, or they're not really talkers, or they're not really comfortable with it, which is absolutely fine. So I'll be doing my best to bring you all the interviews that you want to hear from your Britton Division players. Well, that is it. Every team run through. Thank you for sticking with us. Ended up a little bit of a long one. So I'll fill you in on what's coming, from ZPG in the coming season. The roundup episodes will aim to come out around 7 p.m. on a Monday night, depending on when I receive the coaches' thoughts. My Monday mornings consist of texting Carl, Ben, Cliff, Muzzer, Mark and Bucky repeatedly, so Shep, Will and Ken can look forward to that. If they are slightly delayed, though, I will let you know through the socials. The interview episodes will be starting second week of September, so those that have confirmed, I'll be sliding into your DMs in the near future. Our roundup episodes then will contain the latest news, match reports from all Britton Division games, coaches' thoughts, player of the week, and all the results from the Morley, Laidler and Wilkinson, a sort of a classified results section, plus the Britton fixtures for the following week. These episodes will all be available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, plus anywhere else you find your podcasts. And, of course, they will be in full video form on YouTube. Hello if you're joining us on there. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss anything there. Occasionally there might be little Friday updates on YouTube that will be YouTube only, so that way you don't miss them. And make sure you're following on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok and Snapchat. Also make sure you check out the ZPG network, where we have ZPG Ice Maidens, the only UK podcast dedicated 100% to UK women's ice hockey, with news, reviews, reports and post-match interviews from across the WNIHL, from Elite to the Frank Wright Memorial Development League. Check out the brilliant work that Adam Mackman does over on Facebook. Search for Ice Maidens or find ZPG Ice Maidens on Instagram and Twitter, and listen to it everywhere that you find your podcasts. Next week, we will be doing a little build-up to the Morley Division in the North, as obviously not only will the league winners be facing each other in April, so will the playoff winners. And, of course, we have the Welsh Cup between Cardiff and Deeside. So I will be joined by Blackburn Hawks podcast Hawk Talk host, 4000 Counting producer, Big G, Graham Hamilton. So that's coming next week. For now, thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.